Thank you for being in town on Labor Day weekend. I'm Pat Jehlen. I'm the senator for here. And I'm going to say a couple of words about why I support Don Berwick, and then I'm going to give you to my friend and colleague, Denise Provost. So, a lot of people start out supporting Don Berwick because of the issues, and I did too. I liked single payer, his support for single payer. I liked that he didn't support casinos. But I waited until I found out that he was by far the best education candidate running. And I can say to people proudly that I want this man appointing the next Secretary of Education and the members of the Board of Education. I want people on that board who will listen to the teachers and the parents. And I believe that Don Berwick will listen to those people. But that's not the only reason. I also think that we have learned that we need a manager, a person with administrative experience and good administrative experience in the corner office. And he has studied and taught. Am I giving your speech? Pretty much. I listen to his ideas about management and I say, why can't we have that all across the board, especially in education? But today I'm not going to talk about issues. I want to take a realistic view of what we're facing in the next couple of months. What's our best chance of electing a Democrat? Now I want you to imagine one kind of campaign. And first of all, one of the candidates has already written Charlie Baker's ads. Do you want a career prosecutor or do you want a successful businessman? We don't want that kind of ad going into November. And we don't want an ad that says, do you want a successful businessman? Oh, wait a minute. There are both ways. Do you want somebody coming from the private sector or somebody whose whole experience is in politics, except for the time that he handled his family's business? I think we want somebody, and imagine this kind of campaign where you have a HMO executive, an insurance company executive, running against a person who ran the biggest, something that has a bigger budget multiple times what Massachusetts is, but ran single payer for Medicare, Medicaid. He knows how to do it. He can make it happen with our help. But it's not going to happen if we count on the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald and the other media. They're not only going to endorse, they're going to spend all their time talking about two candidates. The third candidate has to count on nothing but us. We are it, and we can make it happen. So thank you for being here. And now, Denise.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Good, good. Thank you for being here. This is exciting because this is a year in which we get to elect a new governor. And as the senator said, we've got some pretty stark choices. So I'm going to tell you what made me focus in on Don Berwick as the best candidate in this election year. And it was because of a talk he gave about improving healthcare quality back before he was a candidate. And I sat in that audience and I watched the slideshow and I listened to the presentation, which is something I do a lot in the State House. So I like to think I'm a good judge of, who's talking to me. And I was in awe because this is a guy who is a systems thinker. He can think about the big picture. He can see it. He can synthesize it. He can figure out what's going on at the systems level and then keep zooming right back down to the human scaled details. And for a smart guy, he doesn't talk down to anybody. He's got genuine warmth. You can tell that he cares about people and that motivates all of his work figuring out problems and how to solve them. It is a rare and a wonderful quality. Very rare in my world. And yeah, I would applaud that. And that somebody with these wonderful qualities of mind and heart and character would take the trouble and the aggravation to run for the governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that's a gift to us. And Don is such a rare guy and such a far cry from politics as usual that it's absolutely true that the media just don't get it. They don't get it, and he doesn't fit in with their frameworks or with their agendas, because media these days, big media, increasingly, they've got agendas. They've got agendas. But we're Don's agenda. He's here for us. He is here for us. And as the senator said, we need to be here for him. And we can do that. You know, it's not even Labor Day yet. So this is a concentrated time frame. We gotta reach out to all of our friends whom we haven't spoken to yet, and we gotta, you know, talk to them about the reality of this race, because we have other candidates who are increasingly showing their true colors, showing what they're about. So we gotta help Don be known, because when people meet him, they see what kind of person he is. And he's going to come over here right now and show you. Welcome, Don Berwick.
Thank you so much, Representative Provost and Senator Jehlen. Having the support of distinguished and accomplished leaders like Pat and Denise is one of the great pleasures of this endeavor, and I can't thank you enough for your everything you've done for me and are doing for me. And thank you all for the chance to spend some time with you on a beautiful Sunday morning. I want to say that I'm also very pleased to have some of my family here. My brother David is in the back there. He lives in Somerville. My son Dan in the back, he lives in Cambridge. And this is my wife Ann, who's been the best possible partner through this whole, well, 40 years, but especially in this election. Thanks for the chance to spend time with you. I think what I'll do is, for those of you that are supporting me already, out there knocking doors, just spending hour after hour helping, I have no way to thank you adequately. Know how close I hold you in my heart. As Denise and Pat said, there is a way for me to get elected in this election, and that's you. That's grassroots. It's a grassroots campaign, and grassroots means the kind of energy you are so generously pouring into this. For those of you that don't know me, and there's some here that don't, I'd love your help. I'll say a couple words more of introduction of myself, and then I just want to just reflect with you a bit on the experience of running and some of the meaning in it to me. For those that have not met me, I'm Don Berwick. I'm a candidate for governor in the Democratic primary, which is September 9th, which is also my birthday. So you get to, isn't that efficient? You can give me an election and a happy birthday. So I'm a physician. I'm a pediatrician. I practiced for 20 years. I'm also an executive. As Senator Jehlen said, I began my career interested in quality, and over 25 years, I grew an organization that works all over the world to help make quality better in health and healthcare and communities. I studied, learned, practiced, taught modern approaches to management for quality, and that's what I want to bring to that corner office. I think it's one thing to be a politician over and over again, as my opponents are. It's another thing to have the skills to build an organization, develop pride and joy in a workforce, develop really effective focus on the needs of the people you're serving, and every day get better. That's what I want to do in government. I ran Medicare and Medicaid for President Obama. That's the largest budget in federal government. It's bigger than the Pentagon. And I had a tremendous time down there before I got thrown out by the Republicans. They didn't want me down there. These people that hated the Affordable Care Act wanted to make sure I did not get a chance to implement it. So here I am, and I'd like to be your governor. Now, I could go on, and any of you can catch me after my remarks if you want to ask me some more detailed questions, but I want to reflect with you for 1 minute. It's not easy to run. It's not easy to help me run. I know that. So you got to keep checking back, I think, on meaning, on purpose. Why are we doing this? I'll tell you, for me, it gets reflected best in almost day-to-day experiences running for governor. You ought to run for governor sometime. It's really something. You have all these moments to treasure. Let me tell you a couple. One just happened 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It was Thursday, a week ago Thursday. I was at Rosie's Place. Do you know Rosie's Place? Amazing organization. I've helped it through my life. They've helped a lot of the patients and families that I took care of. Well, I was speaking to a group of about 50 women at Rosie's Place who are being helped there. But before I got up in front of them, I was walking past one of them, and she handed me an envelope, which I remembered to bring today. This is what she handed me. You can't read it from there, but it's an envelope. She wrote 2 words on it. The words are, "Remember us." And then in it, there's a card. It says, it's a beautiful card. It says, "When you are elected, remember us. Boston homeless artist, Julie." I thought that was really touching. But I'll tell you, it's not unusual. My experience running, time after time, living room after living room, hallway after hallway, street corner after street corner, I'm someplace and I start to walk away and someone grabs my sleeve and they say, "Remember us, remember me." It could be a region of the state. I was in New Bedford yesterday. Large meeting in the library. Don't forget the South Shore. Don't forget New Bedford. It'll happen in Pittsfield and Greenfield and Athol and Orange. Don't forget us. It could be an ethnic group. I was at a festival in Holyoke last week celebrating the small businesses, Latino small businesses and their workers. It was a lovely festival. Don't forget us. Don't forget the Latino population. 25% of Latinos in the state live below the poverty line. Don't forget us. It could be a basement in a church in Roxbury where I met with a group of religious leaders, and they were a little edgier about this. They said, "Thanks for talking to us," but they said, "The day after the election, we're not going to see you again. We know that. You're here for our vote, then you're going to forget us. Don't forget us." It could be an LGBT group. I was in Quincy for the Harvest Moon Festival, and a transgender person walked up to me and said, it began to describe the life they lead, and said, "We are in trouble, don't forget us," over and over again. It could be middle class. It could be someone in Wellesley. There was a woman in Wellesley whose brother, an investment banker, has gambled away the family's fortune, all retirement funds, lost his job, lost his marriage, has nothing left, has moved in with his sister in Wellesley, destitute. Don't forget us. That's why I'm running. My brother and I know, we grew up in a small town in Connecticut, and my window of my bedroom overlooked the driveway of the house. And as one of my earliest memories, night after night, is hearing my father's car start in the driveway in the middle of the night. My father was a general practitioner. He'd be getting in his car to drive down to the bridge because there was an accident, or Mr. Barron's house because he had chest pain. We were all connected, and we were all there for each other. We weren't forgotten. Why am I having that experience, I wondered? Why? Why do people keep saying, "Remember us, don't forget us, don't forget us"? And I'll tell you why. It's not a pretty answer. The answer is they're being forgotten. In an era in our country when inequality is growing, concentrations of wealth are gaining control of power, Citizens United is ruling the day in our electoral processes, lobbyists are controlling Capitol Hill and Beacon Hill. When inside baseball is the name of the game, people don't feel heard. They don't feel remembered. And the evidence is in the growing inequality, the growing disadvantage, the growing levels of poverty, even in this state. We are falling further and further behind in the supply of homes. We have 24,000 people in prison. Half of them don't belong there. They're put there and forgotten. We have 230,000 children with food insecurity. 19,000 people without a home. In this state at this time. Something's got to change. And I'll tell you, I simply do not think the status quo is going to fix this. Politics as usual, influence as usual, money distribution as usual, it's not going to work. I don't actually think the opposition, as it were, is ugly or venal or evil. They're not. But they're just stuck. They're stuck in a status quo. And what I want to bring to the corner office is a different way to do things. I want to bring focus on justice and equality and compassion. I want to bring focus back on the problems that we actually face. I want to end hunger. I want to end homelessness. I want to have a healthcare payment system that makes sense and that isn't lining the pockets of very large interests now with the money in pure waste. Single-payer healthcare matters. It stunned me that the editorialists on single payers say it's the biggest tax increase. It's the biggest gift back to the uses in public and private policy of money that's now being wasted in complexity in a payment system. I estimate $4 billion of new resources back in the pockets of laborers and the budgets of businesses can afford to hire those laborers, and a government that can reach out and give people a home and give them a chance and help them when they're leaving prison to get back into society. It's the biggest advantage we could get. Casinos? Look, my opponents favor casinos. So does the very big money. So do lobbyists. Casinos destroy communities. It is said they add jobs. Look at the data. They don't. They take away jobs. There are 39 states with casinos. We know what happens. There are jobs added in the casinos. They're destroyed in the community, and it nets out negative. They're predators on the poor. Casinos are engineered to take money away from those people who are near homelessness and in hunger. It doesn't work. And they add gambling addiction. And that poor woman in Wellesley, middle class, but with her brother in her basement, we don't need more of that in this Commonwealth. This is big money talking back to real justice, and it's time for justice. Let me give you one other image before I take your questions. One other incident. Remember that thing in Holyoke I told you about, that celebration for for Latino small businesses? It was wonderful. It was in an open park, in a small park in Holyoke. And as I walked down into the park, this woman walked past me, and ahead of her were 5 children, little children. And I'm a pediatrician, I can't help it. And so I stopped her and I asked her about the kids. I said, "Those are kids?" She said, "No, I'm the grandmother, and I have custody of those children." I said, "Isn't that nice? How's it going?" She said, "Not so well." She said, "Tomorrow the bank is foreclosing on our home, and we're going to be without a home, me and those 5 kids." And I said to her, "What are you going to do?" And she said, "Hope. Not good enough. We used to have 20,000 housing vouchers in this state. Now we have 8,000. Make me governor, we'll have 20,000. A home is a human right. And when you're knocking on those doors and making those phone calls and going to work for me, don't go to work for me, go to work for her. Let's give her a home. Keep that in mind." Thanks. So we have time for a few questions. I know there's some newcomers here probably who were just walking by from my screen, and here you are trapped. But if you have any questions for me, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer a couple.
Don, I saw you at the debate on transportation in the public library, and I was really impressed with the answer you gave, where you talked about the systems of sustainability, environment, health, transportation, and in a way that was really very thoughtful and what reason. And I thought that was really important, because I think most people don't make those connections. I have not heard anybody make those connections. I wonder if you could make another comment about that.
Sure. Denise Provost already mentioned it when she used the term systems thinking. It's a technical notion, but it isn't really if you think about it. When I was seeing patients, a kid would come in to me and wheezing with asthma. And you could say, "Well, why is he wheezing?" And the answer could be, well, because he doesn't have the right medicine. And that's a short-term answer, I guess, but that's not why he's wheezing. He's wheezing because we have environmental justice issues, and he lives in a poor area of the city where the diesel exhausts are more than you'd ever have to face in a suburb. He's wheezing because there are mites and poor heat in his home because we've cut the housing, there's no subsidy for heating, or because the housing is inadequate. We haven't created housing stock that helps him. He's wheezing because his mother is a single parent who is struggling to keep her job, has no daycare support, so she's under stress, and when the parent's under stress, the kid's under stress. When the kid's under stress, the kid wheezes. He's wheezing because they've run out of money to supply the medicine that they need. The wheezing is an end result of a whole collection of causes. So you name a problem, and I'll tell you there's a collection of causes that surround that problem. And this particular one is about jobs and job growth. We need jobs in this state. There's 260,000 people looking for jobs. There's 100,000 jobs looking for people, by the way. How are we going to fix it? Any politician that gives you a one-line answer is just blowing smoke. There's no one-line answer. But there is a system at work. Proper transportation, so there are T-stops or bus routes where they can get to and from work. Good housing, so there's something affordable for them to live in, and they don't have to travel 30 miles to go between their house and their home. An attitude toward worker pay, in which we don't stop with minimum wage of $11 an hour, which is just below the poverty line for a family of 4, but we start thinking about living wages and earned sick time and equal pay for men and women, and a chance for people actually to get in an economy that helps them. It's all of the above. We can be a state in which people always have an opportunity, but only if we think in those terms. That requires a leader in that corner office that understands how things interact, insists on teamwork, and really focuses on real causes, and stops the sound bites, stops this one-liners, this yes you did, no you don't kind of debate we're hearing among the typical politicians that are my opponents in this race. Let's start thinking in the way a good business thinks, about all the things you have to get together to succeed. That's what's going to give that woman in Holyoke a house. That's going to give that third grader a chance to read. That's what is going to get that returning prisoner back to a home and a job and a future. It's thinking in those kind of terms, and that's been what I've done for 30 years. That's the governor I'd like to be.
Hi. With so many complex problems facing the state, you're now in the governor's seat. How do you decide what to tackle in what order?
A lot of problems. Look, I'm going to confess something. As my family will tell you, I'm kind of ambitious when it comes to problem solving. I want to get a lot done, and I'd be telling, if I said, well, there's only one thing to do, I wouldn't be telling. There's a lot of things to do. I will say the values are clear. Every decision I make, I want to focus on those 3 values I keep repeating in this campaign. Social justice, is everybody in? Equality, are we being fair or unfair? And compassion, are we acting with our hearts in government as we act with our hearts in our personal lives? That's not naive, that's good government. So that's going to guide me. Priorities are several. If I really have to name one, like you forced my back to the wall, it's going to be education. And that's not because Pat Jehlen is here. It's because whether we're talking about early childhood education, which should be universal, elementary and secondary education, which has to get back on track with respect to what it really is, to support a teacher workforce instead of blame them, to give latitude for growth and development in both curriculum and kids, instead of tying their hands with standardized tests to teach the test and restriction. Say that? What are you saying? What's your name?
Braden.
Braden? What do you mean?
Sick of tests. Well, everything we do in school is just test, practice, test. Before the test is like all we do. There was no social studies test last year, so we didn't do social studies the entire year. As soon as the ELA test finished, we didn't do any ELA. Everything was just based around the entire test. Everything was test.
Thanks, Braden. Here's a Berwick sticker. Braden needs to be lieutenant governor or maybe commissioner of education. He's absolutely right. He's not alone. I can hear it everywhere, this restriction. We need to give people opportunity. That comes from creativity and joy and pride. I don't know if Braden wants to be a musician or an actor or whatever he wants in his future has to be offered, and that's not going to get done by canceling the social studies until there's a test for it. It's wrong. And then there's higher education. Let me mention that. We don't talk much about that in the debates, but you know we have 29 state colleges, state universities, public universities. They're amazing. Are you in one of them? Tell me, what's your story?
I work at UMass Boston. I'm in the Office of Communications.
UMass Boston, what a gem. We have, these are ramps for upward mobility. They're how people who are in trouble get back out of trouble and into society. The average age of the person that attends a state college in our state is 29 years old. It's not just being used for kids. It's being used for adults who have a chance, and we're giving them a chance. But what have we done for higher education? We used to cover 80% of the cost 12, 15 years ago. Today it's 18% of the cost. And all of that burden's going back on students and faculty who have loads that they shouldn't be bearing. We need to rejuvenate that. So it's got to be a mainstay. It isn't alone, though. If you add, there are other priorities. Healthcare has got to be fixed. We can't afford to fix education unless we do something about the healthcare costs, which is the most expensive state, the most expensive country in the world. I worked for 30 years on better care at lower cost. I know what it looks like. We need the force of the payer at the table, so we're not giving away the store to Partners Healthcare, allowing them to keep their prices exactly where they've been for 10 more years. It's a great organization, Partners. It's a wonderful place. What it needs to be, it needs some guts on the other side of the table saying, you have a new job now, Partners, lower cost and raise quality. We know you can figure it out. Let's get to work and do it, not keep your prices up. That's the wrong deal. That's what Martha Coakley agreed to. My point is we need to think systemically, and it is healthcare, it is education, and it's jobs and job creation, and that's going to be transportation and housing. Those are some of the top ones. One more question, I'll let you go. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We've been seeing single-payer healthcare get shouted down from Hillary care on for a couple of decades now. Can you talk a little bit about political strategy for actually making that move forward?
Yeah, the Globe today in its endorsement said that I was the neophyte and didn't have the skills to engineer that kind of change. Did they think they're going to get it out of filibustering politicians who say they're going to have a conversation, or someone who says it's not time yet? No, if you want single-payer healthcare, you got one choice in this election. I can't promise it, but I'm going to work hard for it, and there's no mincing of words here. We need it. We need it badly. It's going to return probably 10% of our total healthcare costs to better public and private uses. It's the best possible argument for businesses. It's going to be the biggest job creator we could have in the state. It's finally going to get that woman a home because we'll have money back in the budget. But it's going to be a fight. Look, it's going to be a fight. You'll see the lobbyists come out of the woodwork. They're doing well in the status quo. Remember, they're not evil, but they're just in the status quo. And that's the problem. If you want the status quo, you've got two fine options. Pick one. But if you want single payer, you want change, you want that woman in Holyoke to have a house, you want Braden to have a meaningful curriculum, you got one option, and that's me. Can we do it? Here's how we'll get to single payer. Number one is grassroots. I'm not going to squander a grassroots election and not have grassroots governing. We'll have grassroots governing. Your voices are going to be activated. I'm going to help you do that because we're going to have to fight for this. And the people are going to win. The people need to speak. Second, the arguments are strong. We need money. We need money to build our roads, to build our schools, to change what we do. And that money, it's in healthcare. That's where it is. And if it hurt healthcare to take it, I would say, no, don't do it. Healthcare is too important. But it doesn't hurt healthcare. It makes it better to make the payment system rational. And that argument's going to be, I'm going to be relentless about that argument. Finally, I have supporters like Denise and Pat, their colleagues in the Senate, Senator Jamie Eldridge, a great progressive leader, Senator Dan Wolf, a businessman who supports me. He's pro-single payer. Senator Ken Donnelly, a labor leader, distinguished senator, he supports me and single payer. We have strong support from, it's inside the State House for the political will to do this. And I think if you have a governor that's saying, well, maybe we'll talk about it, we're not going to get it. But if you have a governor that says this is where to go, we got a really good chance. And I'll tell you what I'm worried about. If we don't do this, Vermont's going to lap us, and I'm not for that. So look, you're wonderful. It's a beautiful day. Please enjoy it. I need your help. I can only get elected with grassroots. Now, the volunteers here who are working hard, speak to one of them if you'd like to sign up, find out what it's like. I have Abby. Where's Abby? Abby, first a shout out to Abby who's helping organize this area. Thank you so much. Abby, is there anything you want to say about how people can help sign up? And while she's walking around, one other request, this is rude, but I will ask it. Money still matters. Bring name recognition is our challenge this week. If you're of a mind to donate, this is the time. We'll use your donation to get on air, to increase our radio and TV ads. So this is the time to do it. The website's berwickforgovernor.com, berwickforgovernor.com. And anybody you see on my team, Abby or anyone else that you'd like to talk to or hand them a check, they will be happy to take that from you. We'll put it to very good use, I promise you. Thank you for your time and attention. I'd love your support. And Abby, you have any final words about how to sign up here? Abby and Raven's here as well.
Thanks, Don. So yeah, if you find me or Raven or somebody with a clipboard and an Alex back there with a green sheet, please take one, sign up for shifts. The election's in a week, so we really need all the help we can get in Somerville and Cambridge and all the surrounding areas. So please come talk to me or Raven or Alex or Stephanie. Thanks.